you just get 9 of them and miss one of them, you will be asked on the day of judgment. Why did you miss that? Because you have Prophet near you. You can go and immediately ask Prophet. He will tell you. But those who will be coming in the end of the time, from out of 10, if they follow 1, they will be accepted. Why? Because they didn't see Prophet. They have so many problems. They have so many hindrances and barriers in their life. Even if they follow 1 part of it, they will be accepted. Allah will never object from them. Why? Because Prophet is Prophet of Rahmah. Prophet is Prophet of Rahmah and mercy and bless. Prophet is saying, at least as much as you can follow this faith. And this faith is faith of fitrah. And yesterday we talked, one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in our fitrah is the love of pleasure. And this is why Shaitan is deviating us with this love of pleasure. What is happening nowadays in modern world? The wicked man who was thinking that I will bypass Allah's law. Allah knows better. Allah knows us better than anybody else. You know, Samsung company will tell you how its device works because they have made it. In the same way, the Apple one will say about Apple because they made it. They can tell better than anybody how it functions because they created it. They made it. Allah created us. He knows what we need and what we don't need. But if you see throughout the history, wicked man, what did he do? Some wicked people, they wanted to bypass Allah's law. They were thinking that God had limited our pleasure. For example, God says you can't eat that, you can't drink that, you can't have a relationship with anybody apart from, you can't have a relationship with anybody apart from your wife. You can only have a relationship with your wife. So wicked people, they thought, oh, God is limiting us. We can't enjoy as we wanted to do it. So what did they do? They said, let's remove all the limitedness. Let's remove everything which is limiting us, which is actually restricting us. Let's remove all the restriction. So what they were thinking, if you remove all the restriction, you will enjoy more. He was saying, I can enjoy only my wife. Why shouldn't I enjoy other people's wife, at least my eyes? So they changed society into partially naked society. I can enjoy my wife entirely. I can enjoy other person's wife as well, partially. So they changed. Why did they do? They did it because they were thinking we will enjoy more. While Allah's law is totally opposite. Allah's law is that the more you restrict yourself, the more you limit yourself, you will enjoy more. Give me an answer. Do you enjoy dinner more or do you enjoy iftar more? For example, at morning time, you wake up. What happened? You will eat your breakfast. At 10 o'clock, you will eat some snacks again. At 12 o'clock, you will eat your lunch. At 2 o'clock, you will have another snack again. At 4 o'clock, you will have another snack again. Now, at 9 o'clock, when you sit for dinner, is this dinner tastier or that iftar is tastier? When you have restricted yourself, when you will have dinner, you will have an ordinary style of pleasure. But when you will have iftar, when you didn't eat for an entire day, when you will eat, you will have more pleasure than the entire normal day. Why? This is the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed us. If you want to bypass Allah's law, you will never ever get more enjoyment. You will never ever get more pleasure. Rather, you will get less pleasure. This is why Hadith is saying, when kafir, he's performing same action. When mu'min, he's performing same action. Both are performing same action, but mu'min is getting more pleasure than kafir. Somebody might be saying, oh, what's the difference between mu'min and kafir? Because mu'min is limiting himself. He's restricting himself. That's why he's getting more pleasure. For example, from morning time when a man leaves his house to all the way till evening, he looks at 40, 50 beautiful, glamorous girls. And when he comes back at his home, so his wife is not going to be attractive for him. Why? This now we understand. When Islam is saying there is something called hijab. Why? Hijab is not only limiting women. Hijab is not limiting women. Hijab is not protecting women. Rather, hijab is giving you guarantee that this woman will look attractive for her husband. This is because of hijab. Because this man has restricted himself, limited himself. He will love his wife more than anybody else. But kafir, no, he's not going to be like that. So if you look at the philosophy of pleasure, because we are weak, human being is da'if, human being is weak, he can't have pleasure limitless, endless. No, he should restrict himself to get more pleasure. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if you become Muslim, unfortunately, we don't want to accept Allah's law, we are not really Muslim. What does Muslim mean? Muslim is the one who has taslim in his heart. Muslim, Islam, taslim, we are all from one root word. Taslim. What does taslim mean? We say, I'm Muslim. What does Muslim mean? Means who has submitted himself. Who has surrendered himself for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now he has no wish apart from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. This is what taslim means. When a very polite and merciful mother, when she's putting a morsel in his child's mouth, she's putting it out of love. But if same mother is slapping on the cheek of child and taking out that morsel from the mouth of a child, she's doing it out of love. Why? Because she didn't have information that there was poison in the morsel. Somebody told her it's poison. Same mother, when she's slapping the child, she's doing it because of love. If Allah is testing us, it's not because Allah hates us or Allah enjoys when He looks at problems. No, Allah knows where to take you and how to make you strong. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. We will test you, and those people, we will test you with money, we will test you with children, we will test you with musibah, we will test you with your life, we will test you from all these things. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. And give good tidings and good news to those people who are sabir. Unfortunately, some people have faith, but their faith is like weather. It changes quickly. You know, some when Muharram comes, they are very good. When Ramadan comes, they are very good. But after it, their deen and religion is gone. There is a dua of Imam al-Musa al-Qadhi. Imam is saying, say dua, Ya Allah, don't make my religion like weather, that I keep changing day after day. That's what Hussein ibn Ali is saying, الناس عبيد الدنيا والدين لا يكون على ألسنتهم. People are slaves of the world. People are slaves of the materialist thing. And religion is like a chewing gum in their mouth. They chew it. As long as it's tasty, they like it. But when it loses its sweetness, they throw it away. They spit it out. When religion is easy and simple, they follow it. But when there's a problem, when there is something to give, there's something to sacrifice, they don't sacrifice. Why? Because they have not reached to the place, to their position of taslim and surrendering ourselves and submission. We should submit ourselves in front of Allah. A student comes to his teacher, says, what is submission? The teacher says, go in the graveyard and start praising the people who are in the grave. He goes and he starts saying, oh, you are very good people. I love you so much. There's so much fragrance coming out of your body. You're so good people. He comes back and he says to the teacher says, what happened? And he said, nothing happened. I just praised him, no answer. The teacher says, tomorrow you have to go, and now you have to swear at him. You have to talk badly about him. So he goes there and he uses very bad language. You stinky bodies, you are bad people, you are this. He uses all these bad languages. He swears and he curses them. And he comes back to his teacher. The teacher says, what happened? He says, nothing. It was the same thing. There was no answer. The teacher said, this is what taslim means. If you are doing something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if people are praising you, their praise should not give you any encouragement and elevation. If you are doing something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if somebody is denouncing you, his denouncement should not discourage you. Why? Because I am doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have surrendered myself for the sake of Allah. That's why we read in Quran and in dua, لا يخافون لومة لائم. Those people who do something for the sake of Allah, they are not afraid of any objection. They are not afraid of any criticism. They don't have fear of criticism. Why? Because I am doing for the sake of Allah. Why should I be afraid? So we should be taslim in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are taslim, then we will see our ibadah will change. We will have the pleasure of ibadah, pleasure of worship. Now there's one question some people ask before I go forward. Do we worship for pleasure or we worship for some other reason? For example, some parents could say that can we encourage our kids toward prayer? Can we teach our kids namaz and prayer and saying them, oh, you will have pleasure? No, we don't pray for pleasure. We pray because of adab and respect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray because we are created to be slave. We are abd. We are made to be slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't pray for pleasure. If you are praying for pleasure, if you are doing azah for pleasure, if you are coming and shedding tears for pleasure, so we are doing it for ourselves. We are not doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pleasure is a byproduct that Allah can give it to some people. But Allah, if He doesn't want, He's not going to give it to some people. So we shouldn't be praying for pleasure. Our worship should be 100% pure. Look at Fatima al-Zahra. First day they were fasting. Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein, Fatima al-Zahra, Ali ibn Abi Talib, they all were fasting. When it was iftar's time, somebody knocks the door. I am miskin. Is there anybody who can give me bread? All the bread were given to the miskin. Even Fitna gave her bread to the miskin. And they did their iftar with water. Next day they fasted again with water. At night they were about to eat food. Somebody knocks the door. Who is it? It's faqir. It's poor person. Help us. All the bread were given to the poor person. They again had their second day with water. Again, Sahri was done with water. And third day, when they were about to eat, somebody knocks the door. Who is it? It's Asira. Then all the bread were given to the Asira. Allahu Akbar. When Lady Fatima al-Zahra gave these bread, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the entire surah, Surah Al-Da'ra. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شَكُورًا. Allahu Akbar. People were surprised that Lady Fatima al-Zahra, she just gave 10 breads in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah revealed the entire verse, not verse, entire surah and chapter of Quran. Why? Because people were looking to the quantity of the bread, but Allah was looking to the purity of heart of Fatima al-Zahra. Allah was looking how pure this heart is. They are giving not because of pleasure. They are giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't even want thank you. We don't want any reward from you, not even thank you. We did it for Allah, and Allah gave them reward. So when we are worshipping, our worship should be pure for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for the sake of pleasure. This is why Shaykh al-Ansari was a great alim. He writes in his will that I am about to die. My will is this, that my entire prayers of my entire life should be repeated again. Should be done qada by some person. People were surprised. You didn't pray for entire life? No, I prayed. I don't have any qada. But when I used to pray, look at this Shaykh al-Ansari. When I used to pray, I used to feel pleasure. Very good ladha of ibadah. And now I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful between two things. I was praying for the sake of pleasure or for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why I'm writing in my will that entire prayers of mine should be repeated again. I think I don't have purity. I think I don't have khulus. These are great people who worship Allah for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of anybody. Same thing what Ali ibn Abi Talib says, Ya Allah, sabartu ala harri narika, fakayfa asbiru ala firaqika. Oh Allah, if you throw me in the fire of hell, look at the pure worshipper of Allah. If you throw me into the fire of hell, I can be patient on the fire of the hell, on the heat of the fire. But how can I be patient that I am far away from you? Ali says, oh Allah, I don't worship you like businessman. I don't worship you like a slave. I don't worship you because I am greedy for the Jannah like businessman. I don't worship because I'm afraid of fire of hell like poor people, like slaves. Rather, I worship you because I found you eligible to be worshipped. You are the one who are most qualified one to be worshipped. You are la'iq ibadah. You are eligible to be worshipped. So our worship should be 100% pure for the sake of Allah. When will that happen? When you pray. So if you want to encourage your kids toward praying, don't encourage them toward the way a channel of pleasure, because beginners don't get any pleasure. So you should be telling them, we worship Allah because of respect and adab. Adab is a concept in Islam. Probably We can translate it as a respect, but respect is not 100% correct translation. Respect means ihtiram. But adab is something beyond ihtiram. Great quality is adab. If we have, I will just simply translate it as respect in English. But it can't be really probably right translation of adab. If we have adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will never ever do sin. Let me give you an example. If child has adab, if you teach him adab, he will never lose his prayer. Like, you have a guest, and that guest is your neighbor, for example. He came at your place. Now your child saying that I don't love this man, I don't like him. You will say to your child, all right, you don't like him, whatever reason it is. But now you have to respect him. Because why? Because he is our guest. And guests, even the guest is kafir, he should be respected. He is our guest, but you have to respect and give adab to him. Even if you don't like him, but you have to respect him. If we teach our children that even if you don't like to get up at morning, to leave your sweet sleeps, to leave your warm bed, but adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pulling you. Adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires that you get up, even if it's very bitter, even if it's not very sweet to get up at morning. But adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is required. This adab required that you get up for Allah and pray. So it means we have some prayers which are not sweet, which are not even not sweet, which are bitter as well, which are even sour as well. We have sour prayers as well. We have bitter prayers as well. When we have not reached that position, where we do not achieve that position of pleasure, we have bitter prayer. Okay, that's all right. That's not a problem. You should, even if it's sour, even if it's prayer, at morning time it's very difficult and hard for me to wake up, but I should be waking up. Why? Because of adab and respect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the reason, if you want to teach your kids adab, look at the adab of Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you have adab, then we will not, even if you don't have pleasure, we will pray at least. Look at Ali, Prophet peace be upon him says, Ya Ali, I'm feeling sleepy, but I don't have a pillow, nothing in there. Ali says, my lap is ready, you can put your head on my lap and you can sleep. Prophet peace be upon him slept on Ali's, Ali puts his head in Ali's lap and he slept. But at that time, Ali saw the sun was setting down and namaz time was going. Namaz time was about to finish. Now Ali had two options. Either wake up Prophet and pray namaz, or let the namaz go. Let the namaz be qada. Ali made a very good decision. He said, let the namaz go. Let namaz be qada. But adab of Prophet is not permitting me to wake Prophet up from his sleep. Ali's namaz time was gone. And Prophet, peace be upon him, woke up and says, Ya Ali, did you pray? No, Ya Rasulullah. Why did you pray? Because you were sleeping in my lap. And that was a time when Mu'jiza and miracle of Raddu Shams was taking place. The sun was returned. Why? Because of adab of Ali ibn Abi Talib. We listen these in Fadail, but there is a very important point that Ali had adab. If we have adab and respect, and we teach our children adab, we don't have to really teach our children different amount of worship, namaz, this is all that, this is hajj. We just have to teach them adab. If he knows adab, if he knows what is respect, he will obviously do his namaz, do his fasting, do his everything. But we are teaching different things, but we are not teaching our children adab and respect. Hadith is saying, La milataka al-adab. If you want to teach, if you want to leave something in inheritance, if you want to inherit something to your children, don't inherit them big cars. Don't only inherit them houses. Don't only inherit them big bank balance. Don't only inherit them, don't only give them these things in mirath and inheritance. Give them something beautiful and nice things. And the best thing that parents can give to their children in mirath is adab. La mirath al-adab. It's the best inheritance you can give to your children. You can inherit, your children can inherit from you is adab and respect. But unfortunately, we inherit everything apart from adab. Respect is something that is said to be, if we have respect, your children are not going to be leaving any of their worship, even if it's hard for them to worship. If Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha, look at Ahlulbayt alayhi salatu wasalam. What kind of adab they had. Once, there's a story of Imam al-Hassan. Every day, whenever Imam Ali alayhi salam used to give khutbah in mosque or whatever, used to talk to people or advise people, so Imam Hassan used to come back and inform every single thing to his mother, Bibi Fatima Zahra, that today my father said this, today my father said this. So when Imam Ali used to return back, so Lady Fatima Zahra used to explain everything to her husband. And Imam Ali was supporting it. That how do you know all the information? And I was not there, and you were not there as well. I was not in front of you. Then Lady Fatima said, everything what kind of advices you give to people. Hassan, my son, he comes back and he tells me everything what happened in the mosque. Now Ali ibn Abi Talib said, today I want to listen how my son quotes my words. I want to listen how my son says what I have said to people, to you. So Ali ibn Abi Talib says to Bibi Fatima Zahra, today I will come earlier, a bit earlier, and I will hide behind the curtain. And I want to listen how my beloved son Hassan speaks. And it was that point when Imam al-Hassan returned after Imam Ali, and Imam Ali was behind the curtain. Then Lady Fatima said, oh my son Hassan, what did your dad say in mosque today? Now Imam Hassan wanted to speak, but he was not able to speak. His tongue was having a problem, he was not able to move his tongue. Bibi says, what happened my son, why can't you speak properly? Imam Hassan says, my mom, I can feel somebody is behind the curtain. And in respect of the personality behind the curtain, I don't have the guts and power to speak in front of him. Look at the adab of Hassan ibn Ali, that if father is there, I'm not going to speak in front of father. This is the kind of respect and adab Ahlulbayt taught to their children. If you want to teach anything to our kids, nothing can be more better than adab. And how we can, what is the formula that we can increase our adab? If we want to be with our 12th Imam when he returns, if we don't have adab, we can't be with him. Because in the hadith, there was one companion of Imam was going with him. So this companion, he had a slave. His slave came a bit late. So this companion of Imam, he swears that slave. And Imam was very unhappy. He said, what did you do? Imam, he said, well, he's not Muslim. He's not even Muslim. He's infidel. Imam said, even if he's infidel, you can't swear him. And narrator says, history writes, Imam, after this occasion, Imam was never seen with that guy. He just swore once, and Imam left him forever. He didn't have respect and other. Imam left him for entire life. If you are swearing other people, if you are using bad language, if you don't have adab, we are doing sin. This is why there's a beautiful sentence of Imam al-Khomeini says, Alam mahzari khudas, that mahzari khuda ma'asiyat nakum. Entire world, we are living, we are in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't do sin in front of Allah, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are not far away, everywhere of Allah, wa huwa ma'akum aynama kuntum. If we have adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will never ever go toward the sins. What is the formula of adab? One of the formula is Ahlulbayt have told us. If you see somebody who is elder than you, imagine that he's elder than me. He has done more good deeds than me. If he's younger than you, say he has done less sin than me. If he is equal to your age, say to yourself that I know about my sins, but I don't know about his sins. This is how we can increase our adab. And one of the things, and a hadith say, if you want to increase your adab and respect, Jalis al-ulama. Sit with ulama. This will give you adab and respect. If you don't sit with ulama, you are not going to be having any adab. Unfortunately, we don't have any resident alim here. You can't have jalis al-ulama. You can't sit with ulama. You don't have permanent alim here. You should have a permanent alim here. So this is one of the things which will increase your adab and respect. And another hadith of Imam Al says, don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for aql. Don't ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for intellect. Because Allah has given, the amount of intellect Allah has given you, it's not going to increase anymore. The person is asking for aql, asking in dua, Ya Allah, give me more aql, Ya Allah, give me more intellect. His dua is useless. So the person asks, what should we ask, Ya Imam? Imam says, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you something which support your intellect, which support your aql. And what is that? Imam said, that is adab. Instead of asking aql, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adab and respect. كل شيء يحتاج إلى العقل والعقل يحتاج إلى الأدب. Everything needs intellect, and intellect needs adab and respect. If you don't have If we don't have adab, so it means we don't have intellect, we don't have aql. Adab is the important quality that Ahlulbayt alayhi salam taught us. Inshallah, some other discussions about adab will remain for next day because the time is limited. If you want to see the adab, the king of adab is Abbas. The king and the master of adab is Abbas ibn Ali. He never called Hussein as brother in his entire life. Sometimes he called him Imam Zamana. Sometimes he called him master. Sometimes he called him with title of Imam. He never called him his brother. Allahu Akbar. He was his brother. But this is the adab that Abbas is teaching. Abbas is teacher of adab. If you want to learn adab, you should learn from Lady Zainab. You should learn from Imam Zain al-Abidin, Sayyid al-Sajidin. Adab of Allah, look at Imam Zain al-Abidin. People are beating him with stones. People are telling them that he is Khariji. But look at him. Imam Sajjad, he's quiet and he's saying, his lips are moving and he's saying, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. All praise be to Allah. Ya Imam, what are you thanking for? The blessing that Allah has given you. There are so many, I can't be thankful to all those blessings. As-salamu alayk ya Aba Abdillah. As-salamu alayk ya ibna Rasulillah. As-salamu alayk ya ibna Amir al-Mu'minin. As-salamu alayka ya ibna Fatimata Sayyidatin Nisa'il Alameen. Say it together. As-salamu ala wa ala Ali ibn wa ala awlad wa ala ashab Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. These are the nights when Lady Zainab is prisoned and taken toward the Sham. Lady Zainab was a lady. She never cried for her own sons. She gave two sons called On and Muhammad. It is said to be when Hussein brought the martyred body of On and Muhammad. Usually when Hussein used to bring the martyred body, the first lady who used to encounter Hussein was Zainab. But this time when the martyred bodies of On and Muhammad were brought in the tent, Lady Zainab was not there. Hussein looked and said, "Where is Zainab?" For Mothaffar called Zainab. Lady Zainab comes and she sits between two dead martyred bodies. She puts her right hand on the chest of On, her left hand on the chest of Muhammad, and she says, "Oh my son, your mother has no one to sacrifice for Hussein." Lady Zainab for entire trip, all the way from Kerbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. She never cried on and Muhammad. When Ahlulbayt, when they were released of the prison, Imam Sajjad comes to Lady Zainab. Oh, Auntie Zainab, Yazid is saying you can go. Maybe Zainab says to Sajjad, oh Sajjad, tell Yazid we have some conditions. Then we will leave the prison. Maybe what are the conditions? Imam Bibi says, oh Sajjad, tell him on the 10th of Muharram, when tents were burnt, my chadar and my veil was snatched, and that chadar and veil was chadar Fatih, that was veil of Kisa. Tell me to return the veil of my mother Fatima Zahra. I don't know what Lady Zainab asked. Maybe Lady Zainab said, Sajjad, tell them to give back the earrings of Sakina. They have grabbed her earrings. And Bibi Zainab says, Sajjad, tell Yazid to empty a house. We're going to go in a house and cry for our martyrs. The house was emptied. Now, it was the time when all the ladies were crying. One by one, the heads were being brought into the room. Once the head of Ali al-Akbar was brought, mother of Ali al-Akbar gets up. Come on, my son and my love. Ali, you asked for water at the last moment of your life, but you were not able to drink it. The decapitated head of Qasim was brought in. Mother of Qasim got up, and he got the head of Hazrat Qasim. After it, a head was brought, because of which all the ladies stood up in respect. It was the head of Imam al-Hussein. Bibi Zainab goes forward and says, come on, my brother Hussein, you are very far from me. Bibi Zainab grabs Hussein's head. Now one head was brought, which was not on a spear. This head was hanging in the neck of a horse, whose head was this, Allah, Allah. It was the head of Abbas. Abbas' head was wounded so much that it was not able to stand on the spear. It was hanging on the neck of the horse. Bibi Kulsum got up and got the head of Abbas. Now two heads were brought in. These were the two heads of Aun and Muhammad. Bibi Zainab turned her face down. Bibi Zainab was crying. Everybody was looking toward Bibi Zainab. The lady who was bringing the head, she says, is the mother of these two children died. She is not alive. Bibi Fitra was not able to take it anymore. She went forward. She says, give me these two sons. These are the sons of Zainab. Somebody says to Zainab, oh Zainab, don't you want to say Al-Wida, Khuda Hafiz to your son? Bibi Zainab says, I am the daughter of Ali. Whenever we give something in the way of Allah, we never take it back. I have sacrificed my two sons for Hussein, and my son's mother is alive, but Hussein's mother is not alive. I will cry for Hussein, not for my two sons. For entire trip, Bibi Zainab never cried for Bilal and Muhammad. She goes back to Medina. She goes to the Marqat. She goes to the grave of Rasulullah, and she cries there for Hussein. Then she goes to Jannatul Baqi. She cried for Hussein, but never cried for Aun and Muhammad. When she returned back home, Abdullah, her husband, when he saw Bibi Zainab, he says, oh lady, don't come in. My wife is not there. Bibi Zainab puts her hands on her head. Abdullah, you didn't recognize me. It's me, Zainab. Tragedies and masa'ib have turned me old. It's me, Zainab. Now Bibi Zainab entered in the room. She saw two musalla, two places of prayer where all and Muhammad used to pray. Now Lady Zainab was not able to take it anymore. She puts her hand on her head and she said, Abdullah Hussein was killed. All and Muhammad are killed. Abdullah sits down and he stands up. He sits down and he stands up. Lady Zainab says, Abdullah, what happened? Were you not able to tolerate the martyrdom of your son? Abdullah said, no, Zainab. If I was there, I would have sacrificed my son. But Zainab, tell me, what are these marks on your wrist? What are these wounds on your hand? Abdullah, our hands were tied up behind our leg. We were beaten up by rush.
Ya Hussein, 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 हश्र तेरी याद ज़माने में रहेगी अलमदार 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 हश्र तेरी याद ज़माने में रहेगी है सरवर आलम के वफादार अलमदार 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 है जान दिले है अलमदार 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 मरने से तेरे लश्कर शह हो गया बर्बाद अलमदार अलमदार मरने से तेरे लश्कर शह हो गया बर्बाद मुझे हुसैनी के अलमदार 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 है जान दिले है लाशे पे तेरे सरवर आलम का बयां है अलमदार 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 लाशे पे तेरे सरवर आलम का बयां है तेरे मुसीबत के मददगार अलमदार 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 है जान दिले दिखला दो फिर एक बार तुझे चांद सी सूरत अल्लाह